You can go to live in France, but you cannot become a Frenchman. You can go to live in Germany or Turkey or Japan, but you cannot become a German, a Turk, or Japanese. But anyone from any corner of the earth can come to live in America and become an American.
Obviously, that is Ronald Reagan, or was Ronald Reagan, maybe not the case these days, that anyone can come from overseas and become an American. Chris Budihas, retired colonel, host of First Coast Military Life, joins me, and we'll continue our conversation. Let's talk about that B-52 that crashed in California this week.
The 8-engine aircraft initially flew northeast at around 11:10 a.m., gradually turning farther north before abruptly hooking northwest and plunging at a rate of more than 5,000 feet per minute and crashing on the airfield at about 11:20 a.m. Video captured by local news stations showed a smoldering blackened crash site on the airfield where the plane went down. The bomber typically carries a crew of 5, but 8 people were on board this aircraft, including the military crew, government civilians, and 2 Boeing employees. Families of those 8 are currently being notified.
And Lauren Smith is the wife of one of those on board. I'm not going to play the whole interview, but here's a piece of it.
Those airplanes. And he died doing what he loved. I got a phone call from a friend who had nothing to do with his squadron, just one of my close friends, saying there was a plane crash. I turned on the news and social media, and I knew it was my husband's plane. I didn't get a single phone call or message or anything telling me about the crash. Like, I found out solely online.
So I'm going to stop it there. That audio is courtesy of CBS. Chris, why is that? Why, you can chastise the media for making the crash details known.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's our job. And certainly you would criticize us if we didn't notify folks that a B-52 had crashed. But why couldn't somebody, what is the protocol? Why couldn't somebody have called her and the families of the others on board and just say, we're investigating, we have no information for you, but
thanks for the question. I appreciate it. First of all, prayers with the families of the 8 fallen there. First thing on the B-52, it's been around. The first flight was 1952, April 15th actually, and then it was actually introduced firmly into the Air Force in 1955. So it's been around a while. Not that necessarily that airframe was, but again, it kind of reinforces. And I know we got a lot of aviators in our listening area, that what we do in the military is very dangerous, specifically in the aviation space. So, I've been a casualty affairs officer and notification officer. So it's based in policy to answer your question. Why can't they just call and say, hey, we're investigating and such? It's there's a question mark. Is social media and now media just in general moving quicker than some of our policies in the military? The answer could be yes. But the last thing you want to do is get people on angst for absolutely no reason. And that's just something you got to consider. I know I'm seeing some things online on social media about, like, why did it take them so long? Let's be honest. The crash happened at 11:10. Notification happened in the 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock hour. From the crash occurred, to figure out what that aircraft was, who was on board, had to reconfirm the roster, if you will, to notify down, to get the commander to spun up on all the information he needs, and the chaplain, by the way, then actually drive out there. I mean, 5 hours is pretty reasonable in my opinion. It's extremely unfortunate, but today's modern age of media, how fast is too fast? The last thing you want to do is notify a family that their loved one is either injured or killed, and in fact they're not, right? And that would look ugly.
But even to say, hey, we're investigating, we think that he was on board. I mean, I guess you don't want to give them ifs. The military is very cut and dry with respect to that.
As you know,
yes,
we are.
That's why I'm asking you a rhetorical question.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, and so a lot of these policies are actually baked into, probably where we did it really good, or we kind of messed it up and we kind of fixed the process. So it's very unfortunate.
What about to those who say, you had mentioned the history of the B-52. It is a Boeing product. It is known as the Stratofortress. It is older than the C-5, with which I am very familiar because that's the plane on which I was a crew chief.
Yeah.
That the C-5 has only been flying since the 60s. Most of those are in the boneyard. To those who say, what are they doing flying a B-52? B-52 still a viable aircraft?
100%. It's kind of like the A-10. If you've been watching the A-10,
the Warthog,
the A-10 Warthog, all the discussion around, putting that, mothballing that piece of equipment. I love the Warthog, by the way.
I do too.
They supported us in Iraq and Afghanistan to great effect. That 30-millimeter gun is just awesome to see it.
It gets a bad rap, but it is one of the best built aircrafts for that time period. And I know somebody who might be listening in our listening audience now who was a crew chief in training who got a severe injury to his head just from walking under the Warthog.
No kidding. Yeah. So, but I tell you, so you look at the modern day conflict that we're having here in Iran, with Iran specifically, we have Apache helicopters and we have, A-10s that are shooting down a number of these Shahed, drones, Iranian drones. So it just shows you some of these drones are actually either propeller driven or they have a low speed jet engine. So they move at I had a friend ask me hey, non-military, how is a helicopter shooting down a drone? I'm like, these drones don't necessarily move very quickly. They're not necessarily a jet aircraft, though those do exist in the drone space. So again, a very viable system. The B-52 is extremely viable in what it does and the capability it has as a bomber, if you will, the long duration that it could fly. If we remember last summer when we actually bombed Iran before, we were flying B-52s out of Mississippi, nonstop, went over, bombed and aerial refueled there and back. So, yeah, very tragic event.
Let's shift gears a little bit to Detachment 201. It is known as the Executive Innovation Corps. It is a group that is, I think, an Army Reserve group that was just formed. I'll let you tell us more about it. So basically, the short end is 7 people?
7 people thus far. So
they have been made lieutenant colonels.
Yep. So no military prior experience that I know of, all commissioned directly into the Army Reserves as lieutenant colonel, so 05. So that's a commander in the Navy if you don't know your rank structure. Typically, to achieve the rank from either ensign or as a second lieutenant to the rank of 05 is going to take you, if you're a quick promoter, if you will, 15, typically almost 17 years.
That's the quick route.
Rank. That's the quick route.
If everything goes okay.
If everything goes great, working for the right bosses, got the right people working with you, and
this is an officer. This is not enlisted.
No, this is an officer.
So bypassing all of the enlisted ranks to the officer.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I was trying to dig into is what kind of initial kind of basic training they get. So specifically in the Army, with our lawyers, our dentists, and our doctors, they'll go to a short and officer candidate school. They won't go the full route that others do. But there's an idea that they've been professionalized in their space. So they just need, I think it's 5 or 6 weeks of training.
They don't get as dirty. But
I'm not sure these folks are receiving any training. So here's one of the big complaints.
And they're older.
Oh, 100% older. We'll get into that in a second. So people can look them up. So Detachment 201, you can Google it yourself. But the interesting thing is with this administration, and I agree because I was on the military side of this, the acquisition system is somewhat archaic and extremely slow. And when you take a look at modern day warfare in the Ukraine with Iran, that the speed of technology for finding what our service members need to be successful on the battlefield, waiting, years to field a piece of equipment is just not a good system. So this administration came in and basically, destroyed the acquisition system to some extent. The problem is we haven't really put a good system in place. The idea with 201 is, hey, let's get some folks from industry into the Army Reserves. They can help advise us in different spaces of technology. That could be software, AI, it could be advanced manufacturing, you name it, because they're in that space. One of the concern that a number of folks have on the outside, if you will, both in defense acquisition and just in general, folks that are not even in the military space, but definitely concerned about their government, is that these guys being appointed, some of them actually work for some companies that have billion-dollar contracts. So there's a question of conflict of interest.
So the companies you're talking about they're Meta, OpenAI, Palantir.
Yeah, so Palantir with the Maven Smart System, it's a battlefield system that integrates a number of different sensors and feeds and softwares to understand what's happening on the battlefield and to make decisions in order to strike targets and such. I mean, multi-billion-dollar contract. There's other people trying to compete for replacing them or being a better version of what
who have been in the military for 15 years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The military has IT professionals. Absolutely.
So with this, the question is, is their proximity in their position? Because they have some, I won't say direct reporting to the Secretary of War, but they're very close. They have access to seniors in the military that your typical lieutenant colonel would not have.
So for those who don't know, because I think we got a little in the weeds, these are basically civilians who have been appointed to the position, a military position of 05 in the military, which it takes approximately 15 years, at least if everything goes well and you have, the moon shines brightly on you and everything else, the earth is rotating in your sphere at the right time, at the right space, in your time. They are appointed to these positions to serve as part-time advisors in the Army Reserve. None of them, to my knowledge, I think, have any military experience. And some of them, to your point, if not all of them, have potential conflicts of interest with the Department of Defense.
Yes. To put it nicely. I mean, I like the idea that we're going to have folks from industry helping out. Here's my concern also.
Do they have to be 05s?
They don't have to be 05s. They can be second lieutenants, they can be first lieutenants, they can be even captains if
they can be civilian contractors.
So they can be civilian contractors too. I mean, there's been conversations about, for example, cyber. Cyber is now a career field in most of our militaries. As a matter of fact, I think in every service now. So is cyber, there was a question if folks are in the cyberspace, can you do a direct, you could bring somebody in. I know in the Marine Corps a couple of years ago, a guy actually, he went through Marine Corps boot camp, so I give him props. Then they made him a gunnery sergeant because of all of his cyber experience. So, there's people that argue against what I'm saying and say, well, just does it matter? Absolutely, because here's the deal. If you're a lieutenant colonel and you're going to integrate, say, a new piece of technology or a new idea within doctrine, if you don't understand those 15 years of experience, like you missed that first 15 years, how do you understand what the warfighter needs other than what somebody told you? And then again, if you're giving your best military advice, you got that 15 years of experience and network already within the organization to inform your current advice to your senior leaders, kind of skipping a big step there. So that skipping the big step, I got a problem with. But that's not my biggest problem. My biggest problem is there conflict of interest there?
So, okay, let's forget the fact that none of them are women, right? We'll just forget that. We won't even talk about that. However,
your hate mail, not mine.
How many years did you serve?
36.
And you were a colonel by the end of it. At what point did you become lieutenant colonel?
Because I was prior enlisted, I had 7 years enlisted time, so I think at 20-something years.
So basically that 20-something years.
It took me 15 years of commission time, I think it was.
So what this action does is basically say, well, thanks for your 27-plus years, 20-something years. You just bring these guys in.
Yeah, and it'll... There'll be issues because folks will, they will.
Will there be issues? I don't know if there will because I don't know that anyone else is talking about it besides us.
I don't know. I mean, if I'm on again, this has been around for a year. So what do they really do? Kind of that office space. Like, what do you really do? I would like to ask that question and see what that really looks like as an output. If they're just strictly advisors, what does that look like? They're coming in, for their once a month drill for a weekend. What does that really mean?
And they're part-time in the Army Reserve.
Yeah.
So they're full-time still in their regular jobs, which even gives more weight to the apparent conflict of interest.
That's a huge conflict of interest because now you got inside knowledge and you can come back and feed it to your company.
Absolutely. Yeah. And all of these companies are big donors to the Trump administration.
Well, I didn't know that, but now you stated.
Well, I mean,
take you
Meta.
at your word. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, so, okay. Anything else you want to talk about on that? Because that's going to.
Okay. Depends how long you want to go. What. One of the unknown factors here with Iran is going to be Israel, right?
Right. Well, let's talk about Israel. I do want to ask you, though, you had mentioned before when we were in break, and I know you had just talked about the other appointments for doctors and lawyers and things like that. When they come in and they're not going through the process and they're just given a commission, they don't usually go as high as lieutenant colonel, right?
No, not at all. Yeah.
So
the one person I know that went beyond captain, nose throat specialist, had 18 years of private practice. They commissioned him as a major. Still had to go to that shortened officer candidate school. Still had to go through the credentialing. Had to go through the different, the basic officer leader courses. But major was the highest I ever seen. Again, professional experience. They're very much nuanced, but at least they had the appropriate amount of training.
And approximately how long does it take, if all things go well, to become a major?
12 years, 13 years.
So not much of a difference.
Not much, no.
But still significant.
It's still significant.
So, okay, let's go over to Israel. The U.S. ambassador to Israel says America owes its existence to the Jewish people. Mike Huckabee, who is the ambassador, spoke Tuesday at the International Conference on Israeli Heritage in Tel Aviv and said the U.S. would not exist if it were not for Israel.
Without Israel, without the Jewish foundation, there would not be an America. We owe our very existence to what happened in this land.
Huckabee claimed that without the Jewish foundation, there would not be an America and that we owe our very existence to what happened in this land. Trump claimed at the G7 summit, quote, "Without me, there would be no Israel because no other president was willing to do what I did regarding peace in the Middle East." So Huckabee says America would not exist without Israel. Trump says Israel would not exist without him. There's a big gap between 1776 and is it 1948? When did Israel become?
48.
Yeah, 1948. So big gap between 1776 and 1948. I don't think either Trump or Huckabee were around in the political sphere in 1948 when Israel became officially established. But thoughts about that?
Wow. Does it really matter?
You didn't know that I was going to play that.
I didn't know you were going to play that, but does it really matter? I mean, it's just two guys' opinion. So, I mean, we have a relationship with Israel that's very tight. It's people don't realize how much money we give to Israel. Oh, by the way, once you take a look at how much money we give to Israel annually, take a look at how much money we give to Egypt, it might surprise you also. So there's definitely a relationship there that's really important. Israel lives, I got a lot of Jewish friends, Israeli friends, and they live in a tough neighborhood. However, what does a better peace look like on the back end of this conflict here? I fully understand. All my Lebanese friends are going to send me hate mail now. Thanks, Christine.
I'm sorry.
No, but
things have to be said. There's a difference
Lebanon's a failed state, in my opinion. I mean, when you have Hezbollah has such entrenchment there, and we train a lot of Lebanese officers in our military system across their full military, and they are very good people. They work hard. They love their country, but they have this infestation of Hezbollah that it has significantly had an impact on their nation. And for Israel to have, that level of threat right on their border, I fully understand why they're concerned. I mean, if we had the same threat on our border, I'm not sure we would just sit back either. However, there's a question of, what's the end state? What's the goal? Other than it's almost like we're mowing the grass. There's a constant mowing the grass that's occurring. So.
The American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC, ranks 18 out of more than 40,000 organizations that make political contributions to the United States. So as of 2024, the amount of political contributions made to candidates in this country, elected officials, tops more than $51.8 million.
Yeah.
And it's local as well. We've had folks on this program, elected officials in our area who are recipients of APAC funding. I have asked every single one whether or not they would ever give up APAC funding. Most of them have said no, they would not, even if it's as much as $10,000 a year, which in one case it is, which is really insignificant when you consider the overall cost that and monies that are garnered by elected officials in this country. But $51.8 million, ranking 18 out of 40,000 plus contributors to political campaigns. The influence there cannot be ignored.
No, it's concerning. I don't want the Israeli bots to come after my social media. So, I mean, no, it's real. You know, I was listening to a podcast 2 weeks ago talking about this donorism and this. I mean, even Sun Tzu or even Clausewitz will talk about this indirect attack, whether it's military or non-military. But is this influence, you know, what does this influence buy you at the end of the day? And then and how pervasive is it? And it's something that's got to be a bit of concern. I'm not saying it's illegal. Obviously, it's not.
It's not illegal.
It's not illegal. You know,
legal.
It's fine. But how is it influencing people's decision making or not? So it's man, we don't have enough time to get too much in AIPAC, nor our whole political system. Like, why does it cost so much to even run for local office these days? It's like somebody told me running for city council here, if you don't have $75,000 of your own cash or cash you raised, you're not even competitive. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous.
It's anti-democratic.
It's anti-democratic. You know, how much money did, you know, John Adams or Jefferson or others have to raise to of course, times have changed, but.
And they weren't paupers by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I had a friend retired here a couple years ago, so I won't mention what state he's at, but, you know, a lifetime Republican, the state he went to, it's a Dixiecrat, if you will. So his father-in-law who was a career politician said, you're going to have to change your affiliation to become a Democrat. It's more of a Dixiecrat. And then they started getting him out to certain events. And I think he said after a while, he just had to tell his father-in-law he couldn't do it because as they were raising money, he just felt like these people are going to come back and expect things out of him that he wasn't willing to do. Yeah. So
does it surprise you, first of all, how important is the Israeli government really to our political system? We talk about merging the Israeli military with the American military.
That will never happen, by the way. So we got to be careful. I mean, there's definitely divisional lines. Let's be honest, you know, people use people, governments use other governments. So to think that they're using us, you know, in a way to benefit them is probably true. We use them just as much to benefit. I mean, this attack in the Iran, at least the initial decapitation, I mean, their whole intelligence system impresses me all the time what the Israelis can do. I mean, to get in a kind of a lockdown country and have the intelligence they had is pretty amazing. So let's be honest, everybody's using everybody to some extent. Hopefully it's for greater good.